Hi, everybody. I'm news. It really is good news when we come on late because that means that we a lot is happening. It means that a lot is happening. We're moving forward and we're making more and more connections. And today was a very, very busy day, as you can imagine, with the very untimely and very sad death of Senator Lindsey Graham. So, and I think that President Trump is making it very, very clear where he stands on that because of lots of things happening behind the scenes. So let's get started. We are at 2,170 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about the Fort Bliss whistleblower soldier, Richard Halliday. He's my son, I'm his mother, and he was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss because he was a whistleblower. And there was cartel infiltration. There was um, uh, think about Iran Contra. Okay, think about Fast and Furious. Think about that kind of cartel. Um, Infiltration and corruption within our military on Fort Bliss, which is not anything new that we are finding out because, of course, Iran Contra and Fast and Furious came out of El Paso. Okay, you would think that they would put up some national security um, protections because of being a board right there in the borderland, a military installation right on the borderland where there is so much cartel activity. And I'm beginning to learn how violent this cartel activity, the history of it has been. And I always knew because I went to school in El Paso. Um, uh, and I was born on White Sands. So, I have history there too. But, but then I grew up and I got married and we went over to Europe for quite a few years. And, so there's this gap, especially 2008, this gap, what happened in 2008 and 2011. And that's all coming together. So, where did they take Richard when they forcibly removed him? They took him downstairs to the basement room, to the arms room that is a soundproof room that has limited access, and they took his life. And then they took his body and they desecrated it, they dismembered it, and evidence uh, indicates that there was organ harvesting and there was cashing in on his remains. That's why they didn't want to contact us, right? And and then they took him over to Juarez, Mexico for disposal. They trafficked his body through this funeral fraud that we've been talking about, where they were advertising funerals and cremations, and this is a cross border operation. I don't know why they allow that, but they shouldn't allow that. Yeah, there should be a lot of protections on that. And they were people were paying for cremations that never happened. They were getting urns full of construction material that had been pulverized or dead animal bones that had been crushed. Yeah, so there was, absolutely the infrastructure in the cartel because they're totally connected to the cartel um, that is available to take him to traffic to Juarez. The cartel is heavily infiltrated in all the institutions, including the military, and then then mess with the elections because they want to get people in that they have corrupted, that they have compromised, so that they can get protection for their criminal activity. And so, of course, are heavily engaged in all the elections in our country. This is a double, triple national security threat. And so, what happened in 2019 is Richard was whistleblowing. And it was triggering audits, and the IG were all over the barracks because of him. And there was weapons everywhere. This has all been corroborated by the highest in leadership, his general, and a lot of other evidence that this was going on. And on August 3rd, there was the Walmart mass shooting that was orchestrated. We know that it was orchestrated now. Evidence confirms it was orchestrated. Very bloody, but it was orchestrated for the purpose to create a false narrative using Patrick Crucius, Patrick Wood Crucius, who was totally infiltrated within the El Paso system, with his family being in the DA's office, also being at the FBI, also being in Walmart cybersecurity, also being even the uh, federal courthouse manager. And so he had all this infrastructure there. It was orchestrated, and even the crime scene uh, was tampered with. It took over 2 days for them to even secure the crime scene. You know, so it was staged and it was tampered with, and we still don't have a ballistics report on it. And the military was involved in it, and the military that was infiltrated by this cartel activity, they were involved in orchestrating and participating in the Walmart mass shooting case. And Richard, among others, of course, Glennon Oakley Jr., he lost his life in April of 2020. He was found not alive in his barracks room. And Richard, in July of 2020, was forcibly removed and taken downstairs, his life taken, his body trafficked to Mexico for disposal, and to particularly Chihuahua, Mexico, okay, because that's the state that shares the border with Texas. And, so, and we've uh, been investigating for almost 6 years. And so we've made a lot of contacts, and a lot of things have been revealed. A lot of people that you thought were helping were really operatives. And then others that you thought weren't helping were helping behind the scenes because of the sensitive national security uh, nature of this entire case, because the Walmart mass shooting was used to tamper with the 2020 election. It was used to attack President Trump, to put forth Beto O'Rourke. And this is not me saying it, this is the evidence. The evidence absolutely confirms it. So, thank you for coming on so late, Laura. Thank you so much. This is what it takes when you have something so big like Lindsey Graham dying suddenly, and El Flaco being released from prison and being put back into the community. This is it was things that we want to talk about today because it's huge. And who is behind all of this, right? Who is behind the El Mayo kidnapping that was illegal and unsanctioned? That was Conal Whetten. Who, when and where and how did El Flaco get arrested? It took 500 military and law enforcement to apprehend El Flaco. Okay. And I'm just jaw drop. Can't even believe that he's been released. But there was a deal made, and of course, a deal is made because he was processed through El Paso. And of course, that is Conal Whetten. Okay, that is Conal Whetten. There's no question about it. He is the Mormon Mafia Sinaloa operative, and of course he's Sinaloa. Of course he's a Mormon Mafia because he's from the Chihuahuan colonies there, the Mormon colonies there in Chihuahua. He's not this apple pie American boy, okay? He's a Mormon Mafia, okay, in alliance with the Sinaloa Cartel, and that's why he made a pact with El Chapo. And he's from a wealthy family, so he had access to El Chapo's family, and he made a deal with El Chapo's son to lead an operation, um, to order the operation to kidnap El Mayo. And of course, uh, Conal Whetten is responsible for the 350,000 missing children on Fort Bliss, the unaccompanied children that are missing. He's absolutely responsible for that. He's responsible for the leaking of our son's identity to the cartel. That's not something that we think happened, allegedly happened, whatever. No, he did it. And he put a target on our son's back. That's what he did. And that is when all of the evidence is made public. I'm just because of everything that's happening behind the scenes. But I can tell you this much: he leaked Richard's identity to the cartel and put a target on Richard's. He's responsible for Richard losing his life because whistleblowers are supposed to be protected, right? They're supposed to be protected. So Conal Whetten absolutely is responsible for the Walmart mass shooting orchestration because his lead agents, David Frost. Let me tell you, David Frost was accused of many trying to do the worst type of crimes against women. I hope you know what that means. And then, he was accused of many terrible things, and a protective order, uh, was asked for, against him. And he is active duty Fort Bliss Army, NCO under 1AD headquarters division under Sean Bernabe, while he is an active FBI agent that was given the lead role, investigative role over the Walmart mass shooting with his partner Todd Petkus, who also has close ties to the military. But David Frost was living on Fort Bliss. This is Conal Whetten. You don't need to know if there was skews because Conal Whetten even hired Michael Mayella, right? Michael Maiella Jr., Michael Gianni Maiella Jr., there in the FBI office, right? What was he good at? Well, he was cybersecurity. He was a hacker, and he was cybersecurity for Walmart, and he was working at the DA's office too. So, this is not stuff I can make up. This is absolutely shows you that Conal Whetten, the Mormon Mafia, protecting the worst type of crimes against children by his Mormon members, uh, you know, absolutely confirmed. Also, the running illegal and unsanctioned and unauthorized operations inside of Mexico. This is confirmed. He admitted it. He confessed to it. The leaking and the having Todd Petkus and uh, David Frost uh, in the Fiscalia. So, are they triple hats, in the Fiscalia too, working for Carlos Manuel Salas? To sabotage, to thwart, to stop any kind of investigation into Richard's case. 100% that has been confirmed that happened. This is all under Conal Whetten, all under Conal Whetten. And if you're, watching our Facebook page, and this is why it's a little bit later, I did put a post up in Spanish because, uh, this is not, like I said, an American pie apple boy, right? Or apple boy, apple pie American boy. No, uh, he is not, American. He's not, well, he is. I think he's a dual citizen, right? But he's not loyal to America. He's not loyal to Mexico. He's from the Chihuahuan colonies, from the polygamous Mormons. Um, a lot of problems there. A lot of problems. I'm going to tell you right now, you do a little bit of research and investigative work, and there's a lot of problems there. And I'm not exaggerating enough on that one. So what in the world is he doing being in the FBI? I just don't understand that. But we've been alerted to that the FBI and the CIA and the ATF and DEA and all that are, really controlled by the Mormon Mafia, right? Or used to be, or a big part of them are Mormon Mafia. And there's legal cases out there about how they control the intelligence and law enforcement arms or institutions of the United States. So, and if it's going on in the United States, then you know that there is election tampering and infiltration into the law enforcement and intelligence agencies in Mexico. And so much so that Conal Whetten thinks that he can do unauthorized, unsanctioned kidnappings in Mexico. Okay. And conduct a orchestrated Walmart mass shooting in the United States. And absolutely be responsible for the taking out of a whistleblower soldier that's supposed to have his protection, and traffic uh, uh, to Mexico. All this cross-border stuff. And it seems every case, even Julio Cordero, the FBI hero, the good FBI agent that was his life was taken. It seems like Conal Whetten is all on every one of these very bloody, bloodthirsty, murderous. He even confessed to the murder of Mexican politician Hector Quinn. Okay. And now uh, you've got the Mexican president. Scheinbaum, saying that he's responsible for 1,650 deaths because of the unauthorized, unsanctioned kidnapping of El Mayo. And look, and now he's responsible for the freeing of El Flaco. What's this deal that's going on? I don't know. I don't know. But there's something funny because when you look at El Flaco's record, that he is the one that got his a whole army of compromised and corrupt law enforcement, military, in there in Mexico from Connell's neck of the woods, Durango, right? Um, that they attacked uh, Ciudad Juarez, particularly the Juarez cartel. They wanted to totally destroy the Juarez cartel. They weren't successful, but 10,000 people died. What is all the legacy of El Flaco? And I have it here, and I'll turn this on too, so you can see my post here. Um, see if I can get this. Yeah, here it is. 7,000 dead. Now I've read, and this is conservative because I read it's over 10,000. But I think this was in 2008 when he led this war on Juarez, on Ciudad Juarez. 7,000 dead during the war. In Chihuahua, 250,000 displaced, forced to flee from the violence, 25,000 abandoned homes, 5 to 10,000 businesses closed, 130,000 jobs lost. And do you know it took like 500 individuals to apprehend El Flaco? This was in 2011. And he was then processed through El Paso. And now he has been freed. He has been freed. In 2026, he's been freed. How can that happen? There's a deal. There's a sealed deal. His the agreement is sealed. They sealed the deal. And of course, Conal Whetten, the FBI office, is part of this sealed deal, right? So I'm wondering what El Flaco had to give to get out of prison. What did he have to give? And I just think, wow, I don't think it worked out good for them because look at this threat that he's made. And I put it in AI to do it in English here because this is the original right here that they're putting on in the media right now. And this says in English, the cleaning has begun, or the purging. It could be the cleaning or the purging has begun for all those who refuse to align. Independence and uh, this is El Flaco's last name, Salgueiro. I don't know if I pronounced that right. And this is a threat. Um, you know, and this man, he's responsible for turning uh, Juarez into the most dangerous city on earth. Look, that's just crazy that they would make a seal deal. They have, in order to really have justice and keep that justice stable, things have to be transparent. You can't have seal, 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 and then they say, oh, well, it's sensitive information. No, no. We're the taxpayers. We need to see what is going on so that we can make sure that it's done right, that the criminals are off the street. But he's not. He's back. He's back. He has his seal deal and he's back. And I don't know what that, I don't know if I don't think that's too good. I don't think that's too good for Maru and Connell and Alejandro de la Vega Foster. I don't know if they thought that he was going to come back. And, if he's anything like um, El Mayo, remember, El Mayo had a $15 billion forfeiture. Okay. $15 billion forfeiture. How much money and who kept it, and these are the Sinaloa proxies, Maru Campos and Alejandro de la Vega and Conal Whetten. They're the proxies. Did they keep money for him? Is he going to want it back? Not everything is like, rosy. It's not rosy like these letters, like this ink that they use to write this, you know. And so there's going to be a lot going on with this criminal group. So we can get into this is the Mexican post, the Spanish post that I put up. I just wanted everyone in Mexico to understand that Conal Whetten is, is responsible for ordering the kidnapping of El Mayo. I think that's very, very important because, there's always an attempt to divide the United States and Mexico. But what's really happening is that you've got these Mormon Mafia or cartel operatives, double agents like Alejandro de la Vega Foster, that is, trying to create division within the countries, but it really is cartel activity, right? That has infiltrated both Mexico and the United States. And they're hurting our relations, they're hurting our security, they're hurting our sovereignty. And I just want to make sure that, that they know that too, that they know that we're fighting for Mexico as well as the United States. So here's Lindsey Graham, and this is really sudden for us because we live in South Carolina. Lindsey Graham is our senator. He's he was absolutely, he knew Richard's case. He knew the stakes. He knew it all. And right before he died, he was in Ukraine, right? And he was also um wanting to push this Save America Act. So this is, there's an FBI investigation out on his death, but my husband was reading through his death, the kind of heart, because he wasn't looking good, he hasn't been looking good for a while. And of course, my husband has some expertise with that for being a perfusionist for open heart surgery and knowing, working with thoracic surgeons for many years. Um, and being a physician assistant, all his life. So he thought that he didn't look too good, and I can't remember exactly what he told me that he had, but it was an aortic something. Um, and I'll learn that tomorrow because it was a long day. But it doesn't seem like there was foul play. It does seem like he did die suddenly from a massive heart attack. So, but I know that the FBI are looking into it because he was very important to what President Trump, his agenda, right? The whole agenda. So, and I can tell you from our communications with Lindsey Graham, he absolutely understood what was at stake in our son's case. Absolutely. So there's no doubt there. Um, you've got that from the horse's mouth, literally. Um, yeah, so that is really a lot that we have been going through today. But the main thing was this El Flaco, the Lindsey Graham and the El Flaco, and the Conal Whetten's hand into everything. So that is the main message that we would love for you to share is that Conal Whetten is responsible for the criminal activity with the Sinaloa Cartel. And that's the Chapitos Sinaloa Cartel. Okay, he is Chapitos. He's with the Pan Party with the Maru Campos, right? With the Cesar Haragi, with the Cesar Paneche, with the Alejandro de la Vega Foster, which is pre-party also, the pre-party over there, the pre and the pan, they kind of they make a coalition, right? And so that's all becoming very, very clear how they operate, and they absolutely plotted and planned against Del Mayo. There's just no doubt about that. They wanted to get rid of, he was their competition, right? He was their competition, and they wanted to get rid of their competition. So let's see what Laura has to say. Thank you so much. Thank you. May Richard Halliday's remains soon be. Yeah, thank you. This is the vicious negotiations for for the repatriation of Richard's remains. It really is. Um, just imagine what other things are going on in El Paso. Um, the grooming in our schools. Yeah, absolutely. Um, I did hear that a big cleanup is coming in the schools. I did hear that. Um, having Veronica Escobar, well, uh, uh, you know, Veronica Escobar is hand in hand with Conal Whetten. Okay, absolutely hand in hand with Conal Whetten, and there's just so much evidence of that. So she's in big trouble because Conal Whetten is in big trouble. He is under investigation. The Mexican President Scheinbaum, uh, she's not happy. She's not happy. So this is at that level, and things are happening. I can tell you that right now. Oh, thank you, Daniel, for coming on. Thank you so much. And so the only thing, we don't monetize, there's no ads, and so that's why we get shadow banned. Or, they push uh, pages out there that do make some money that are monetized. So, what we would, but the thing is once you agree to that, okay, which would be very helpful for us and all the things going on behind the scenes. But once you do that, there's a lot of restrictions on what you can say and everything and what you can post. And so we can't, give you all the information that we have been if we monetize. So we don't monetize. And so what we would love to ask you is to share the information, to help get that information out so that it does get a wider reach, even without the monetization. So thank you so much for sharing. And I know that it is being shared in Mexico widely. I can see that, and I can see the numbers. And so that's what we need for this borderland to be cleaned up. Yeah. And also for the repatriation of our son's remains. So thank you so much. Let me turn this off. I always forget to do that. Thank you so much. God bless you. And I hope you had a great Sunday. We had a great Sunday. Matter of fact, we had a baptism this Sunday. Awesome. It was so awesome. I love baptisms. And there were, I'm trying to count all the baptisms, 5 baptisms today. So that was just wonderful, and then making sure that we can give you accurate information about what's going on with El Flaco. But he has been released, and he is back, and he has made this threat. Yeah, it is. We have Conal Whetten to thanks Conal Whetten for creating hell on earth. A bloody mess. National security threats, national sovereignty breaches. Okay, he's responsible for all that and for the murder of our son. So, thank you so much for passing that information around. That's going to make all the difference. And